Welcome to another review, guys. If you've seen me before, hopefully you're a subscriber. If not, join the gang, hit the subscribe button below. If you like this video, don't forget to like it. And the final plug in here is, if you could support the channel, all you got to do is come to my eBay store and buy all my stock, and I'll be very happy. But no, only joking. The link's in the description. Now onto the watch. This is the new release from Cadisen. It's the C8053, and the unusual thing about this watch is, compared to all the other Cadisens on their website, the official store on AliExpress, it says new release. It's got Miyota movement, it's got an updated dial design, but one thing I noticed on the dial was it says Cadishen rather than Cadisen. So why have they changed their name? That's unusual. I thought, could it be a spelling mistake? I've got the watch, obviously, for review, and I've looked at the back of the watch where they etched the name and other details onto the case back, and it says Cadishen there as well. It's an unusual choice, unusual change. But that's not the only reason why I bought this watch. Part 2 coming out in a few days' time is going to be me modifying this watch, because you know me, I like to have a tinker. I thought I'd have a go at buying parts for this watch as cheap as possible and put it on one of my own leather straps, which I supply myself, to see how dramatically I can transform this watch and change a few little aspects I'm not too keen on to make it what I think is an even better everyday watch with a little bit more of a unique design, in my opinion. So I hope you enjoy these two parts. This is part 1. Enjoy the video. So here it is, guys. This is my first part of the 2-part video, because part 1 is me showing you why I bought this watch, because it's an updated version of a previous one I reviewed. And I quite like that, but again, I do flip a lot on my watches, and that one I sold because I just didn't have room for it in my collection. But when I saw they had a new version, I say new, it's only really got a new dial and a movement, effectively. Everything, the case and everything else is the same. So the dial, as you can see, they've got something new here. We've gone for a Sean Connery-esque branding rechange. I'm wondering if they've spelt their own branding wrong, and that would be hilarious, because we know they've done mistakes before with spelling. They did the 50 ATMs, which is equivalent of 500 meters water resistance. So they did correct it, which is fair enough, and it's an innocent mistake to make. But I wonder if they've accidentally spelt their own name wrong, because Cadishen sounds like they've got a bit of a speed impediment. So it's hard to I don't know why they've done that. Put a sh in the middle. It's that's the first thing I noticed is new, and obviously they've got this bejazzling going on. The indices, they don't actually sparkle that much. You think if you're going to put jewels in the indices, it could sparkle a bit more. And that's the other difference they changed. And the 12 o'clock index, sorry, that's a big sort of triangle shape. So there are subtle differences. One thing they didn't do is really get the magnification much better on the Cyclops, but we'll go into that in a bit, because the first thing I'm going to do is give you the stats and the specs. So let's start with getting my trusty friend Gipas over here. Let's see how much it weighs. I've sized this up for my average for a man's wrist of 7 inches, and the weight is a 118. That's quite lightweight, really. Now, let's get Minch over. He's going to help us with the dimensions. So the case size is 38. Thickness is 11.7. Lug to lug is 45. Lug width is 20 mil. So it's quite lightweight, it's quite an elegant size. I'll pop it on my 7-inch wrist so you can get an idea of what it looks on me. It's in that sweet spot, it really is. It's a nice size, and it's really light on the wrist, I must say. It's very comfortable. But the same problem we've got, as many of you would agree with me, is this: anything with a butterfly clasp, you've got, it either fits you okay or it doesn't. This is just about acceptable. It's quite loose, but I've tried it with one more link taken out and my hand went purple, and then if I do anything more than this, it's just going to be flopping around, and I don't like a floppy watch on my wrist. Oops, bash my table. Yeah, I just don't like it. So I'll square the camera up a bit. There we are. But it's a great size. It is a sweet spot for many people, many wrist sizes. But good thing about bracelets is you can swap this out. That'll be in part 2 when I do the mods on this watch, because I just don't get on with butterfly bracelets, because it's very rare that I get one to fit me comfortably. There's no micro adjust at all. So the good thing is you can just put it on a different strap, and I'll show you that in a bit. So I'll take this back off my wrist. So we've got that nice clasp. It's actually a very well made clasp. It's got a bit of pelage on the center part, polished. There's no sharp edges, anything anywhere. It's well made. It's got a nice click as you pop them in. And see, the fit and finish is really good. Often is with Cadisens. I've never had anything that's too alarming, really. There's nothing that's been glaringly obvious as a bad bit of quality control. And same goes here, really. Push pins for the links to be taken out. I'd say there's probably another 4 you could take out, because you can't actually take that in one out, I don't think. There. So you could go down to a 6-inch wrist easily, and this would probably fit up to an 8-inch wrist with all the links I took out going back in. Now, the reason I got this as well, because I know you can get upgraded dials and hands for the other kinds of movements that come in these watches, so the Mingzhus and things like that. But this has a Miyota, and I know it's just easier to find upgrade parts for anything with a Miyota movement. And that's why I bought this as well, because Miyota, I do like the fact it's got a Japanese movement, and that's what this has got. So it's a very entry-level Miyota, as you can see. It's got no hacking. See, when I pull it out for time adjust, it is still ticking away. And then we've got it does have hand winding though. I can tell it has that. You get that slight bit of resistance on a movement that has hand winding. If it doesn't have hand winding, you turn that, it just literally feels light as a feather. There's no feel or texture through the crown as you turn it. And then we've got the next pull out. It's quite easy to pull the crown out. Speaking of crown, I often like to measure that as well, because it's a good indication of how easy it is to hand wind and the size of it. So it's close to what I like to be as my go-to size of 6mm or above for a crown size. So it's not bad, tiny bit too small, but it's acceptable. It's easy enough. There's no crown guards in the way, and it's easy enough to wind. So I've discussed the dial and the movement now. The glass on the front, well, it's actually crystal, sapphire crystal, synthetic, of course, as most watches are, which is highly scratch resistant. We have this fluted edged bezel design, which is very neatly done, very crisp, very decent. We have a sapphire cyclops. The case and all the other metal aspects are stainless steel, mostly brushed and polished. Then, obviously, exhibition case back to see that Miyota movement. But the thing about these Miyota movements is, as you can see, it's just, you get a lot of rotor spin. See, there you go. So you can get rotor wobble on some applications where this movement's in. And then you've got the, it is a half decent looking movement. It's reasonably well finished, but it's entry level effectively. But they're very reliable. I haven't really kept timekeeping on this, to be honest with you, because generally I trust them and they're very acceptable. They're not wildly out of sync with plus minus 10 seconds a day in general. Here's the model number. It's the C8053G, 5 atmospheres, which is 50 meters of water resistance. I would say just splash resistant. I wouldn't go snorkeling with this or anything much deeper than having a splash about maybe. And it's a sapphire crystal. Fit and finish is really good, and you do get a good spec for your money. This was around £60, which is incredible when you think you're getting all solid, well-made bracelet, a Japanese movement, sapphire crystal, good fit and finish with decent quality control. And you don't have to get it with this movement and this dial. You can get the other design. They still sell that for around the same price, and that comes with a lovely blue or black, or I think they do a silver dial, but you've got a lot of choice. loads of choice. The movement, the fit, and not the fit, sorry, the finish and colours, and there's a lot of differences. So that is really good. Now I'm going to just talk about my likes and my dislikes. So the likes are, I love this case shape and the weight and size of it. It's a very good sweet spot. It's a really nice, good all-round everyday wear watch for this kind of money. It's fantastic. I like that it has an automatic movement, sapphire crystal, and a date complication. It's got all the basics covered, and it's handsome. Apart from, I don't like that they've changed their name, if they have, and it's not just a spelling mistake. Cadishen, don't like that. The Cyclops is very out of wonk. Wonk is a word. It's almost too close to another word I shouldn't be using. I've said before, it's a bit like Quasimodo, a bit drunk. It's just all like, it's like someone stuck it on and it just slid down. You see, it's hopelessly out of alignment with the crown. Look, it's just nowhere near where it should be. So that'll be coming off, and I'll be doing that with my lighter, not my blowtorch, what I did in the first one. I didn't realise I melted this seal in here a little bit accidentally. So yeah, that will try not to have that happen again. So I don't like the bejazzling going on here on the indices. Just don't like that. I know I bought it, but I wanted the Miyota movement. And I don't like, there's some very sharp edges here. I'm going to sand them down a bit here. It's really sharp. I might take the bracelet off and just go and peel an apple. It's that sharp. So now you got the gist. I spent 10 minutes done my review of this watch. Now we're going to move on to part 2, which is going to be me transforming it.